T-minus 3, 2, 1, 0.
Space nerds, welcome in. Welcome back to the Launch Sequence podcast, folks. We got some good stuff to talk to you about today. Star Citizen just showed us the devs playing their own game live for Siege of Orison to show off what was coming up in 4.10, and we've got commentary, we'll say, about how that went. Ollie's first time on the camera in the job, and whether or not we're getting what they were playing or something different. But we also got a monthly report this week, which has some very interesting mentions of things like loadouts, missions, and everybody's favorite RSI Galaxy, which is coming later this year. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about probably a lot of stuff in between. But I brought in 10Pound42, got his eye on the ball when it comes to drama. Tracking the features and the stability of the game as well. You've found a recent rise in the FPS, and you kind of looked at the minimum spec. So I think we got a good amount to talk about. And like, we generally are talking every day. You edit for the channel. We are, I like to think we're friends. So I thought it'd be good to gather it all on one little show here on the podcast. For those of you who want to skip the intro, I saw that on the last one, you can. I put the chapters down below, so feel free to jump to the first topic. But if you'd like to hear more about our guests and what's coming up, let's talk, dude. How have you been?
I'm okay, yeah. Star Citizen is still Star Citizen-ing. Squadron is still loading, I guess, in some ways. And so we just plod on. We plod on towards the future where things happen. That's what it feels like now. We're just waiting for things to kick on. But yeah, all good, all fun.
Chris said it was going to be a short marketing campaign for Squadron 42. He must have also told himself challenge accepted. Like, I can just imagine him standing in the mirror and being like, it's going to be a short marketing campaign. And he's like, you watch it. You're going to regret saying that.
Well, I guess his argument will be, it will be short as long as he doesn't start it. So can't be held to anything until it starts. So far, unless you count the emails, there is nothing. So who knows? Maybe you never know. Maybe Gamescom in a couple of weeks there'll be some crazy trailer reveal, but you never know.
Yeah, that would be cool. But I mean, even because they went to Level Up Expo in April, right? And they made a big deal about that. They were going to go there and have a booth there. But now with Gamescom, they basically just said, hey, we'll see you at a local bar nearby the event if you guys want to come by. So it feels more low key.
Yeah. And they said in the Squadron invite thing that they sent out for this event to people, that will be the first place that anybody can play it. So there wasn't ever going to be like a Squadron booth at Gamescom, so to speak. There wasn't going to be like here people in the show can play it. But there's a tiny chance that there's a trailer. There's also a very good chance there's no trailer. So
it would be fitting. I mean, that's where they revealed the first trailer.
Yeah.
So it would make sense.
Yeah, they've used Gamescom before, so yeah. Maybe if we get a sense of who's going out there to that bar sitting, if suddenly like Chris and Sandy are going to appear at that bar sitting in Cologne, maybe that's a sign they might pop up at. We're deep into the craziness already. Let's leave this for now.
Well, how has Star Citizen been treating you over the past couple? I mean, we haven't, dude. It's not been that long since we did an episode. I think it's been like 1 month. So really since then, you've looked a little bit into the minimum spec for Star Citizen. You've looked into the frame rates, and you've both discovered, from what I've heard, that the frame rates are improving after 4.8, and that the minimum spec should improve because it doesn't work.
Yeah, so the testing I did when 4.9 came out showed that actually it looks as though across multiple different systems that I tested it on, the game's performance had improved in Lorville at least, so that was a good sign. And other people I've had quite a few people say, yes, I'm seeing improvements, so it doesn't seem to be just me, which is good. That's a good sign. It looks as though as part of their kind of whatever we're calling it, month of stability or 2 months of looking at making the game work, however long they're going to spend on this.
It better be forever.
Well, yeah. I don't know if I believe that quite yet, but they seem to have made some efforts to improve entity count stuff, and performance seems to be better, at least in Lawful, and I think in other parts of the game that I've experienced. The minimum spec stuff is down to the fact that for the free fly, the download page shows, I think there's some sort of tweak. I saw some sort of post on Reddit saying, oh, the specs are now under the download button. And they changed it a while back, but not that long ago. They changed the minimum spec CPU. They updated it from a Sandy Bridge 2000 series Intel to a Haswell 4000 series. So from a 2012 CPU to a 2014 CPU. And
That's insane. That's so old.
Well, yeah, it's quite old. Interestingly, the CPU itself isn't probably it's not the massive issue. The major issue now really is that they're recommending GPUs with 4 gigabytes of VRAM, which just isn't enough to play the game. And so I went in on stream I think it was this week actually, and went in and tested their exact minimum spec effectively, the official one, and said, well, if you're a free fly player, you've loaded up the website and you've looked at it and said, oh yeah, what are the chances? That's my PC. I've got exactly that. What does that look like? And what it looks like is a terrible experience, like an unbelievably bad experience. And so then, yeah, the next part of the stream was then going in with what I recommend as the actual minimum, the real minimum spec, which is a lot newer, and showing what that performs like. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is a battle I think I've been kind of trying to get CIG to take seriously for, probably about as long as I've been making videos, nearly 5 years. And I don't know what it will take to get them to do a realistic minimum spec. I actually I can't get my head around why we have what we have on the website. It doesn't make any sense, but maybe it's something to do with Squadron, and maybe it's something to do that they'd like to target these specs eventually. But right now it's a car crash when you play on those specs.
Well, they're dependent on how many people can run the game, right? And I mean, they're going to try and make it as low as possible, and they don't optimize the game either. So what do they even have to go off of in terms of saying what the spec is going to be, other than, well, this gets good frame rates? And
if it did get good frame rates, I would be happy. But when we're getting 5 FPS, let me tell you, trying to leave a city in a spaceship at 5 FPS, or trying to do a space combat mission at 11 FPS, or even actually trying to do a bunker mission, I think we did it like 25 down to 20 when this frame rate is stuttering all over the place. None of those things are very easy to do. And I think most people's general expectation with minimum specs, they're kind of thinking, well, I'll probably get 30 FPS. Like that's the bare minimum really you can do. But those specs that are on the website as the official are nowhere near that. So
that's a problem. Like, you can make specs for what you think the game should be performing as, but if it's not, you're just bringing people in and they're going to have a worse expectation of your game than what's there.
Yeah, I think most people would immediately turn the game off if they were playing on that system. I think they'd just be like, nope, I'm not doing this, because there's no other game experience really that you buy a game and you load it up and you get 5 frames. It's just not a thing. So nobody would ever accept that.
Especially after seeing the freaking cool trailers, man. Oh, so okay. So minimum spec, not great. But let's go back to the performance of the game overall real quick. You are noticing a rise in 4.9. Do you think that's something that will continue, or do you think that's in response to what's been going on, or is it just kind of like a coincidence?
I imagine it's in response to the kind of hoo-ha around 4.8 being a bit of a disaster patch, and then obviously they came out with that Star Citizen Live with Jared and Benoit and Jens, the kind of apology SEO, and they said, oh, we know this is no good, we're going to make an effort to improve things for 4.9 and 10. I imagine it's part of that kind of initiative to try and improve things. Whether they just keep pushing on performance, I doubt. My expectation is that really performance in SC won't be looked at dramatically until Squadron is out, because a lot of the engine guys, you'd assume, are fully working on Squadron right now, trying to make sure that game can hit 60 FPS, let's hope, as a minimum. But as in, there's a lot of optimization work that you'd imagine needs to be happening for Squadron right now. And whenever you read anything from the graphics teams or the global illumination guy, Ben Parry, we were looking at that the other day, whenever they speak, they always talk about the fact that, well, it's Squadron first, that then will come to SC at some stage. So they're very likely, the guys who I'd think mainly be working on performance will be in a Squadron branch working on that stuff. So my expectations are quite low for SC performance, really. I was shocked that anything happened in 4.9. That kind of came out of the blue. Performance had kind of been on a downward trajectory through the last year, really. So it was a bit of a shock, but a good one. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of other things wrong still with the game, but getting a performance boost, nobody's going to complain.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, at least it's something that was supposed to happen, right? That might mean that the trend continues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if they want to keep people in this game, no matter what they do, they cannot take a dip back into poor performance. Or I mean, we're in poor performance still. They can't. They can't reverse course. You know, this is, in my opinion, they've had years and years and years to kind of sit on this idea of things are developing, the back end is coming together, everything's going to be unstable. Now that they've got server meshing in, I think that they do need to seriously consider having a baseline that just they don't drop below. Benoit last year talked about this like patch performance score that every patch gets, but they have not revealed that score to any of us for any patch. So we don't actually know what significance that has, you know? Clearly you guys had a score and 4.8 probably didn't meet it. So what happened there? You know?
Yeah. There's a long way to go performance wise. I mean, I say performance has gone up in Lawville, but I'm sure if you've been playing with big groups over the last week of streaming or whatever, I'm sure you at various points have dropped below 30 FPS. Chorlers Beach, Ashlands, I spent a bit of time there. Performance wasn't great. Client-side performance at Siege or Orison is pretty rubbish. So there's all sorts of places in the game where, Orison itself, the actual city, is brutal performance-wise. So even on top hardware, you'll dip under 30 at points in this game, which is just an insane thing to say, but that's just the reality, really, of where we're at.
Yeah. All right. We're going to circle back around to talking more about the performance of the game, instancing, and actually a lot of bug fixing that came up in the monthly report this month. But first, I want to turn to another thing that showed up in the monthly report I think people are pretty excited about, the RSI Galaxy. This ship is fairly hyped. It's been in people's scopes for a while. It's got a weird history of development. I'll put a picture up here. This is what we have of the development update so far. The first picture is just the bridge. But then we also got a couple sentences describing what changed here. To update, quote, further development was done on the RSI Galaxy, which passed its white box gate review earlier in the month. Additional art resources helped various areas of the ship progress significantly, including the lower engineering area, upper corridors, modular lower section, and rear hangar. Dave, do you think if this is in white box, if it just passed its white box gate review in July, do you think that it's still on track for IAE?
Well, I would guess this is a bit like other ships that have been like, it has to come at IAE. So I don't care really where it's at or what they're saying. This will be one of those ships where CIG is like, this has to come out. And so whatever that means, whoever we have to pull off other teams to come and work on it, or however many nights we have artists scribbling at a tablet with a thing to make this work. I assume this will be guaranteed to come out at IAE. The risk with that is obviously that an ironclad situation happens again where it comes out and it isn't quite ready. That would be bad, and that would be something CIG don't really want to repeat again. And the real big question I've got for the Galaxy is when it talks about modular there, what modules are we going to get? Because you'd assume we're not getting base building. which is part of this ship's modularity. And the question then is, well, the other major thing that's would be quite interesting would be the refining module.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to come? Are they going to drop ship refining in the middle of IE? So, yeah, a lot of people are very excited for this ship. This is their opportunity to print money, really. So for IA, one of them. I'm sure there are other ships up their sleeve to wow us with. But yeah, this is they won't want to have a Ironclad-esque disaster with this one, I think, would be. Whether that means they'll actually test it in the PT or whether they'll still try and keep it as a surprise.
Nope. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll see.
They want this to be a surprise, no doubt. They want to hype this up to high heavens. And as is being said in the chat, I mean, we're looking at refining, base building, cargo, and medical. And medical's not going to be all that useful with something like this, not over like an Apollo. Cargo is cargo. Refining is not gameplay yet, so if that doesn't come in, that really just leaves the cargo module and makes this a cargo ship on launch. Now it is in an interesting spot because it's a large RSI cargo ship, and I believe it actually carries a decent amount of let's see, no, it's just 64 SCU.
Really? Ooh, wow.
No, never mind. 512.
Okay,
Thank God.
yes.
I was going to say 64 is the hangar. Cool. So yeah,
Right.
You can get a cargo module that gives you 512 SCU with a cargo lift able to hold 232 SCU containers at a time. So it's a decent amount. Like 512 is not bad. It gets up there kind of around the Raylan level, I think. And it's a cool ship. I guess you also can get the hangar module, but again, we're not using the Tylenol for anything that much like that. The game's not in a place where you're using parasite crafts inside of carrier ships all that much. So in terms of the actual usefulness of this ship when it releases, it's much lower than what people have in their mind.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing it could be great for. It could be great for taking screenshots on Nix One with like that. That might be the main use case for the first while. It kind of fits the load up your ship with a load of stuff, live off your ship, go and land on Nix One and take some lovely screenshots. Like, I think it's a very popular ship. The modularity itself is quite cool, but yeah, if it comes in lacking half the modules, which it probably will, it's not as exciting, that's for sure.
Yeah, and modularity, it's easy to break that. So, I mean, we saw it with the Ironclad. I would definitely, if they're going to bring this ship in, you might as well bring it in as a one-purpose ship for the first launch because that's the first impression. Let it look good, then get the modules in. But we'll see. We'll see what they decide to do. They're going to try and hype it no matter what. We know that much. All right. The next thing on our list of things to talk about today is one that's going to be quite exciting, I think, to folks. Topic of a lot of conversation. Star Citizen Live was different from normal. So we're filming this on Thursday for everybody who is listening. This is generally earlier than I do it. Anybody who is a supporter on Patreon, Twitch, or YouTube, you guys can come and watch this live and actually talk with us during the show, before and after, ask questions, all that stuff. But we are filming this on the 6th. So it's kind of thrown people off. And that's just because I think, honestly, my baby might arrive this weekend. And I want to get this out of the way before that possibility comes. So we are, possibly missing some context from over the weekend. But yesterday, Star Citizen Live aired, and it was different from normal. This was the first episode where Ollie43, he's a content creator for Star Citizen, does some streams. He's been on the podcast a few times. And he was hired by CIG recently to come in and kind of help Jared with some of the organization of content and media and stuff going on. Now, we don't know what that means, and we haven't really seen much of it since, but yesterday he got on camera for the first time in what seemed like ran the show.
Yeah.
What did you think of the show overall and how it went? Because there's a lot of conversation in the community about this one.
Yeah. It's a Reddit and Spectrum are a fun place right now.
Oh boy.
I let's say so. My crazy prediction. You're going to get me to know another crazy prediction at the end of this. My last one was that Ollie43 would save video content effectively as a short. That was kind of a bit of a joke. So what I'll say is it was good to have a different attempt at a format. So they tried something different. I think a lot of people for a while have been saying, well, why don't you stream your own game, prove that you know what it looks like and how it plays and all the issues that we face. And so as a concept, I am glad they tried something. I think a lot of people were thrown immediately off by the fact that what they did was they decided to play on an internal. They weren't playing on the PTU. They were playing on an internal server, which only had the 4 of them on it. So a whole server setup to basically try and make this look as good as possible. So I think they had display info open at one point. Server was locked at 30 FPS. And so this, in theory, was a best case scenario. Jared got on screen at one point and said, basically, we don't think there's much point showing you what you're already seeing in the PTU. We want to show you the intent. We could probably dissect that and be like, that's marketing speak. And actually, they just didn't want to show off a horrible example of how it worked on their own official channel, whatever. But I think that decision threw a lot of people off because they were just like, well, what are you doing? Why are you hiding what this really looks like? But then the actual bigger issue, I think, for a lot of people was that even in that best case scenario, there were still some significant issues, and it kind of proved to a lot of people. This is how people are speaking, at least. It proved that I think a lot of us in our heads would be thinking, well, if server meshing was perfect and we were all on 30 FPS servers, the whole game would run a load better. And I think this proved that actually, even if you are on a 30 FPS server and everything is running as well as it can, there's still significant issues with the game underneath. The AI still don't work as you might hope they would. And there's maybe just issues with networking full stop and the netcode and how it all works together effectively is the short version. So I think it has actually worried quite a lot of people more than it helped. Showing it in this way would be the summary. And then, I'm glad. I think people are kind of making posts about how Jared threw Ollie under the bus or whatever at the end by saying, well, it's your show, finish it off. I don't know if that was quite the intent there, and it's probably best not to worry and speculate on any of that stuff. But it did seem as though Ollie had brought something that they wanted to try out. And whether you hated it, found the way they were playing the game cringe or whatever, you got to say at least they're trying some stuff. And if that's what Ollie's going to bring, trying some more stuff, then, well, fair play. So, I mean, what do you think? What were your takeaways?
Well, you can't get out from under it. Are you changing your prediction?
What, that he's going to save the video content?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he saved it in terms of adding something new. We'll give him more time because that's only one show. I mean, I wasn't completely serious. I obviously wasn't completely serious about saying he will fix all the video content on his own. It was a bit of a joke, but I hope that bringing more people in around Jared will help with the video content, because that's another video I made recently, basically saying the video content, since they said they were going to go weekly this year, they've about a quarter of the weeks there hasn't been anything. So they haven't done particularly well on going weekly with the video content this year. So it's too early to predict, really.
What do you think is the explanation behind that? Do you think Jared was not in the position to make that statement at the beginning of the year, or he was told it would be okay and it would work out, and now the company has shifted out from under him?
To go weekly, you mean?
Yeah.
My guess is he's solely responsible for the video content. And so I don't think it's the company's, something has changed that has meant he hasn't been able to do that. My guess has always been he's got too much on his plate. He's too busy. And he's got other responsibilities. Obviously, he's deeply ingrained in the market. He is marketing, as he says now. And so he talks about that. So my guess has always been that they would have to bring more people in to help him in order to up the frequency. It looks from the outside, with no inside information, that he just hasn't got the bandwidth to put out a video every week on his own. And so I know he's not. I know he's got editors around him and producers, whatever, video capture guys. But we're in deep speculation territory here. But my guess would be he had a full intent at the start of the year and to be fair, what he said at the start of the year was they'd go weekly where they could. So they weren't promising every single week, but it's definitely dropped below that quite significantly. I think it's below where they would have aimed. But yeah, I just hope that bringing Ollie in and hopefully bringing more people in. I personally, I know not everybody believes this, but I personally believe the video content is key to the community's connection with the project. And I think part of the rumblings around the community seeming to be more negative maybe than it's ever been, I think is possibly to do with the lack of video content. I think it's definitely not helping, at least. Yeah,
I agree. You can't really interpret what's going on in the company anymore. And that was a huge part of this project. I mean, there are the occasional dev messages on Spectrum, and then there's the Star Citizen Live. I would say that we've gotten maybe 4 that have been very useful this year in terms of information. And we used to be getting probably upwards of 6, maybe 5 hours of content every month in video content from them that would be talking about, like, here's what's being worked on right now. Here is what was worked on last month or 2 months ago and how it's affecting the game. Sometimes they give us text-based postmortems about updates, and all of it feels like what you're saying. They just don't have the bandwidth to talk anymore. But also it feels like they don't want to deal with having to explain things to us, both because we keep holding them accountable for it and bringing it up when it doesn't happen, and then it causes, cycles. And because they end up not being able to deliver that stuff, and then it looks bad. So we don't get really any communication, which leads to these situations which we're about to get into. They drop something like instancing. They go and they play it in front of us, but everybody kind of notices that it's still not playing that great. So then we're like, okay, well, we thought instancing was going to do this, but it's not. And while Benoit was on camera in the last month, he was talking about fixing the game. He wasn't giving us an update on how progress on this is going. So now this big tech advancement is coming into the game on the back of a very difficult cycle for Star Citizen, with little to no communication about what it is supposed to be doing necessarily. And then when they took their playtime to demo in front of everyone, instead of having someone technical there to explain that kind of stuff, it was just gameplay banter, which I think is okay as long as it's split up by like questions asking about the design process and like, why was this decision made? But I think they're really missing what people are looking for, which is just some kind of proper, mature communication.
Yeah. I think what everybody was hoping from yesterday was, like you said, there'd be some discussion of what's going on with the instancing. Why is it not working? Because they themselves said it's not working as there's issues and it's not working as we want it to. There was no more than that. That was just Jared saying we're aware that it's not working perfectly and we're working on it. But it baffles me that that there's not been some sort of post. I mean, they in the past have used Spectrum to communicate some of these sorts of things. It doesn't take, maybe that's not fair to say, but you'd assume it doesn't take that much effort compared to making a whole video, at least, to write a Spectrum post saying, here's what's happening with instancing. This is the stuff we're going into. This is why it's not going quite well. But nobody has any clue what they're trying to do with instancing, basically, at this point. We have no up-to-date conversation around how is this supposed to be working? Like, are we all supposed to be on a dedicated server that's just managing the instances for Siege, or it's a complete vacuum of any conversation? And it extends further than that, because obviously instancing is part of server meshing, part of their push towards dynamic meshing as well. They've talked in monthly reports and things about the idea that this is something that is part of the journey towards, or is required for dynamic meshing. And so we've had so little communication And this is when you have people say, oh, there's nothing for them to talk about in Star Citizen Lives, or they can't make anything about ISC. There's nothing to talk about inside Star Citizen. There's tons of stuff they could make a video about. They're just choosing not to, or they haven't got the time to. So maybe they're just making Squadron videos and that's all they're doing. And they're suddenly going to just release the floodgates of Squadron promo stuff at Gamescom. But right now we're in a bit of a mess, I would say, communication wise. It feels the communication that they're doing is as bad as I think it's probably ever been, really.
Yeah. And it feels like they're really on their back foot. I mean, we mentioned that the frame rate's getting better is good. And nothing is ever as it seems in front of you. The fact that we can identify, the problems with instancing and the presentation they did is ignoring the fact that there's also a ton of work going into bug fixing that we're going to get to that even came up in the monthly report. There's a lot of work that's going into improving the game and getting into the strategy that Benoit laid out, which is what we covered during our last episode together about a month ago. And it's not so much that people don't expect that to happen. It's like what's happening? There's so much wonder from anybody who's following of what's going on with Squadron. I think you are in bliss right now if you don't follow Star Citizen closely, but you're still a fan, because you're not thinking, okay, every day that ticks by, they're not talking about Squadron 42, which is clearly holding them up on video content, on optimization, on delivering features, on hosting things like CitizenCon. It is now at the point where it's stopping just about every single thing in Star Citizen from happening successfully, besides whatever's happening in the next patch. And they still don't say anything about it. After passing $1 billion, after giving an interview to Variety, after going on This Week in Video Games and giving an interview, they still aren't saying shit to their community. And it's
Well, you summed it up really well there. You said you're better off not following the game closely. And if CIG want to hear something that they should be worried about, is that is true. I think that is true. Everybody would be better off having a break until they start. And that's not what CIG wants, because people who are on a break don't buy spaceships.
Yeah.
So they I just don't understand it. It's almost like, I don't know. They're just somebody who is in charge of marketing has literally just stuck their head in the sand, or they've got their fingers in the ears, just going, blah, 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 blah. I'm not listening. And they're not listening to the noises that are coming from the community. It's so clear. If you spend any time on Spectrum or Reddit, which has its own problems in it, but there's just a general feeling. There's posts every single day saying, this feels different. It feels worse than everything. I just think it's insane that they're not trying to do a better job with communication. It's genuinely nuts what they're doing this year. And I tried to say, I am fairly level-headed about the game. I still have hope for the future. I'm happy to criticize where I feel like it's necessary, but I think it is fair to say, as you said, this is bad. What they're doing is bad.
Yeah, usually I say that they're good at burning through goodwill, but at this point, I think they are getting past goodwill, and they are just burning people out on wanting to care. I think a lot of people are just like, I don't really mind it. There are a lot of good games coming out for the rest of the year. I think I just saw, gosh, what was it? Somebody else just confirmed that they're setting their release date for February. Can't remember what it was, but there's so many good titles releasing in August, September, October, November, and February that people are getting less and less reason to sit and wait for this space game to get better. And I would tell people, chill, go play something else. We'll let you know when this has gotten into the state where you can play it. I have a video I actually just sent over to you that is being worked on to talk about, should you play Star Citizen right now? And there are a lot of reasons to play. There are a lot of really cool things in the game. They've made some good progress. Crafting is actually giving people a way to progress, but I end that video by saying there's a lot of stuff that you might want to do, but you might find that 70% of what you want to do doesn't work. And they can't sit on the alpha excuse anymore with the way that they're advertising the game.
Yeah.
We keep saying that.
And the only thing to just completely undercut everything we've just said is that they're going to blow past their record for making money in a year.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're like, everybody's upset. No, everybody's feeling disconnected from the game. People are taking breaks or whatever. And yet still. And so maybe CIG don't have to, maybe that person with their fingers in their ears going blah, blah, blah is just saying, well, we're going to make way more money than last year. And last year was our record anyway. So anybody's complaining, just shut up. I don't care. Maybe they just don't care.
I'm going to take one out of the book of all these wild people who were saying that the Odyssey was going to fail. And what you see now that it's doing well, you see people coming out and being like, oh yeah, only $700 million, but okay, if they hadn't done this, then it would have made $2 billion. And honestly, I'm kind of in that position with CIG. Like, they're going to make their best year of sales, sure. But if the game was running well, I wonder how much money they would be making.
Yeah, and this always gets brought up, is like, everybody's like, oh, it's made $1 billion, how amazing. It isn't amazing compared to real games that are released in the good. Like, there are plenty of games out there making a lot more money than this per year in a different way, not with selling massive spaceships. But yeah, their potential, they've not really scratched the potential, I don't think, in some ways, of how much money they could make if the game was at 1.0 and ready to be played by everybody. But we're clearly not there yet. So
yeah. All right. Now to put that aside away. Thanks everybody for joining for the rant. How do you think Star Citizen Live went yesterday compared to what they were actually setting out to do, in your opinion?
Well, so I'll say this. There were obviously still issues, gameplay-wise, bugs, but it is still being developed, this, so you would expect some things not to work, some bugs. The stuff that we mentioned earlier, that like the state of AI on perfect servers, effectively, or on a perfect Shardon server, was worrying. But it basically looked like Star Citizen to me. Like, there was plenty of issues with it, but it wasn't. There was nothing in there that was like crazy shocking in some ways. I mean, I have to say though, I've skimmed through it twice whilst doing other things, so there's maybe things I've missed, but I mean, I think more the way it ended made it feel like something had gone wrong on their end. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was almost like they felt something had gone wrong, because it kind of just fizzled out. They didn't complete the boss, and so they kind of just were like, let's end. Like, Jared was like, you're out of time, wrap it up, Ollie.
To just cut it.
Yeah, so I don't know if they looked at it and were like, this hasn't gone as we intended it to. And that, certainly, if you look at the memes and everything all over the internet, on Reddit and Spectrum, you'd think that it had been a disaster on the scale of like the holiday live stream that they did many years ago. And I don't think it was anywhere near that bad. Yeah, what did you think?
I thought the ending was a little awkward. I will agree. I think that if the whole thing had gone the way it had, and then they finished the mission and then had some kind of conclusion where they talked about it, there wouldn't be near as much focus on the episode. There wouldn't be people talking about the dynamics between anybody and all that stuff. I do think that, like, there wasn't much of a conclusion. Everybody got brought into this episode where they said they were going to talk about instancing, and like the new 410 arrangement. And instancing is arguably the most important technological advancement this year in the game. So I think everybody was kind of thinking that maybe they couldn't get Benoit, but somebody from the team who could give some insight. Like, the most basic things. When you go into these instances, you get off the elevator, there's one screen that you go through, and then you go through this area and there's another screen you have to go through. They couldn't even explain to us why there were two screens. What is this space in between the screens that you're going? Is that the instance? Is it initializing the instance? Is the elevator into the hallway an instance change? And then, talking about like, how is the instance tied to people? Is it tied to the party? Is it tied to one specific player? If that player leaves the party, joins an instance, and then other people join that new party with them, can they get into that instance? It was so unfocused on helping players understand as opposed to just kind of showing the gameplay. It felt more like a Siege of Orison episode than an instancing episode. And I think that's a missed opportunity for sure, but I still think that it was good for people to see. And I actually like that they played on their internal server. I mean, I know what the PTU looks like. It looks like crap. I don't need to see the same exact thing that I'm going through. I would like to see it perform how it's supposed to. And that's telling that we got to see it perform how it's supposed to, and now we know that it's still not performing that great. If they had shown us it on the PTU, we'd all be none the wiser right now, saying, it doesn't run well on the PTU. Now it's exposed. And I think the more that they do that, the more at least we can we can see, like, that's information for us. Let me start that over. I think most people want them to play the game on the PTU for a cathartic reaction. They want to see the devs go through the frustration that they go through and get that feeling. That does nothing for us though. Yeah. It's not like the devs don't see us struggling all the time. This did something for us. It let us see something new. So I think that's a good thing, but I think that they did not take advantage of what they had there. And that conclusion, I think it was really it. I feel for Ollie though. It was his first time on the job. He obviously was put in front of the camera to kind of, I think they're giving a little bit of a rough time. Jared has his ways of humor and he likes to be a little short like that. And so I think Ollie wasn't quite ready. I've had plenty of situations like that where I've finished something but didn't really think about what comes afterward. And I'm like, well, this went well. Thanks for coming. See you later. And not a great time to have that moment, but it happens. I don't think it's that bad.
No, I don't think it. I think all the drama, the people are the spectrum of Reddit is probably overblown, and it doesn't really matter. None of that stuff is that important. I think you make what you said about this was a Siege show, and it should have been, or it would have been great if it would have been more about instancing. Is a very good point, because everybody has been playing this. All people streaming and making videos have been playing this on the PTU. So the stuff that we would have been interested to learn about was not how the mission works, because everybody probably has seen, not everybody, but a lot of people have already seen the mission. Whereas the gaping hole is the instancing stuff. But I mean, whether they ever do attempt something like this again, I don't know, but I would hope that they keep experimenting, like I said, and I'm happy to see them try things. I think maybe they feel like this point because of the negativity around the community. Maybe this wasn't good timing for it to have a bit of a ropey show. Maybe, because they've effectively had, like, if you go from 4.8, well, no, if you go from 4.8 in the ironclad stuff, you've had kind of like miss after miss after miss almost, and so for this not to be like going probably really well as they wanted it to, probably. From CIG's point internally, they're a bit like, we could have done with a win here. We could have done with a really good thing that would have got everybody a bit excited and really been a community win. But this was a bit of let's call it a draw. This maybe was a draw more than a win or a loss.
Yeah, I do agree that if we were in a good place, I think people would be hyped to see whatever's coming in the next patch. Before, I think it was 4.7 maybe. Possibly, where we got Rockcracker. I think people would have been pumped to see Rockcracker get played the month before it came out, even if it had its problems. But we're at a fairly unprecedented time in Star Citizen. I think we were talking about this before the podcast started. Do you feel like this summer, because we always go through the summer slump in Star Citizen, do you feel like this is different from other summers?
Yeah, what we were saying before was that the difference really this year is that normally everything has been held back for CitizenCon, and so it feels like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So we've just got to get through kind of July and August and a bit of September, and then we'll have a big kind of release.
The hype starts.
How it builds up towards CitizenCon. They'll do some teasers, but because there is no CitizenCon this year, there is this squadron event which we don't really know how that's going to work. Nobody really knows what that means and what that means for the wider community outside of the people who've been invited to it. There's no carrot on the end of being dangled in front of us to keep us excited. And so, yeah, it feels like this summer, I think it's what we normally have in the summer, but like you said, off the back of a pretty rough few months, it maybe feels worse than normal, and which is contributing to the community sentiment being quite angry, I think, in general. So, yeah, we always say this though, they just have to have something that kind of gets the hype going again, and then everybody will kind of move past this. Start doing teasers for Planet Tech. You'd assume that, yeah. The risk though is that 4.10 itself comes in, and because, as CIG themselves said on that live stream, it's not, the interesting stuff is not working as they want it to. It's probably coming in the next 2 weeks. Like, I don't know what they're going to do if 4.10 comes out and it's basically another pretty broken, or at least the main content coming in with it doesn't really work that well. So yeah, I said this to you. Yeah, well, I said this to you before in the bit before the podcast. It's a bit like if you follow a football team football or American football, whatever. You follow a team that's like gone on a bit of a losing streak, and it starts to build. The frustration builds, and like your team's lost a game 3-1, and they've maybe lost one 5-0. If that was like 4.8 was like an actual disaster. You got absolutely smashed by another team, scored loads of goals. CIG, they need a 3-0 win at some point just to get people going again and get people being like, no, we've got hope. We believe in you. At the moment, it's kind of like loss after loss, and morale is down. So yeah, they need a win. We'll see what they do to create that win.
We've got some interesting things coming up. We know that Starware is supposed to come in 4.11.
Yep.
And along with that, it does...
just quickly, although I think they're setting themselves up for a bit of a problem with the balaclava that is the subflare this month. People seem to be not very happy with that.
Oh, it's not anymore. They delayed it.
They delayed the balaclava?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw that they had delayed that and then changed the text also to not say you ride your hovercrafts around on Orison.
Another own goal potentially that was.
Yeah, dude, it's like you guys they're creating this negative momentum with these things. They don't have to make these mistakes. You don't tell people they can ride their hovercrafts around on Orison, man. It's so easy.
Literally no way to do that.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, they've got, I mean, like, so Starware and 411. I do think that they're probably going to try and get suit lockers into the game along with that. They haven't been talking about it, but I think that is a desire, if not 411, then the next patch. Like you said, we've got Planet Tech also coming in. And I want to say there was something else I was seeing. Item recovery. They're making some good progress on that. If they can get all three of those things in 411 and 412, that's a pretty solid amount of stuff to be excited about feature-wise. And I guarantee they're also going to have something content-wise too. So they could have a good finish to this year. They could really pick things up. I do think that whatever squadron event they're doing in October, I don't think it's going to be just that. I think there's going to be something else released, if not the exact same stuff that's released just footage-wise to the rest of the community.
Yeah.
Because that is an event. I know a lot of people think it's like a content creator event. It's not a press event. That is an event where they're just trying to have a good mini CitizenCon and I think they're inviting as many people as they think they can, and had to pick in weird ways, because how do you pick from several tens of thousands of people? So there are some good possibilities there. It's just like everybody just cares about the game running well, though. That's what's in question.
I think it's a combo of both. I think the game, because for so much of this development, the game hasn't run well. So, and they've managed to still be quite successful in keeping people engaged with the project and buying spaceships. But as we found last year with the year of stability, whether you think it was playability, whether you think it was a great year or not, it did seem to work in terms of more ship sales, more money, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, there's definitely a link between how playable the game is and how well everything is going. Yeah. But I still do think they are reliant on so always having something on the horizon for people to look at and say, well, when we get that, that will be great. Or when we get that, I'm excited about that. And the ultimate one obviously is 1.0 as like the real thing in the distance that you like. There is a goal there to try and make this a playable, finished, not fully finished, but released version of this game. And so I think they rely on both fixing up the game and hype targets in the future. But
yeah,
the thing is, if any of those things, so say for instance, Planet Tech got delayed out of 4.11 and into next year, or things just came in like completely broken. So say Starware was just completely broken when it came. They're still the rest of the year is fraught with risk. Still, there's still risks that things. This is very negative, isn't it? It's all sounding very, very, very negative. But I suspect we're in the middle of the storm, and the storm isn't necessarily over yet. I still just think ultimately, until Squadron is done, we're in this holding pattern.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is. It's like this Squadron is the storm, and as much as I know people are going to be in the comments saying like, Squadron, I hate Squadron, it's ruining everything. I actually like Squadron. I love a single player game. I like a story it's got me. It's got its hooks in me, but it's a detriment to Star Citizen. But let's turn back to the instancing talk, because there is a very important angle on the instancing we haven't really discussed here that I think is going to be a topic of conversation quite a bit going forward, and that is, what in the world is this instancing actually doing that's different from the hangars? Because we all were kind of the impression this was going to be new servers spinning up for people to play in these closed environments. As we've discovered, though, these are just new instances being loaded on the same server as everybody else who's in Orison, which is not saving performance, and is instead just focused on giving people a closed-off narrative. Now, before we started this talk, we did go back and look at Benoit talking about this at the beginning of the year, and he never said anything about performance. So what is your reaction to how this feature has landed?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. When we went back and looked at it, they're quite careful not to say this is going to fix everything from a performance point of view, from a server performance point of view. They don't mention it at all. And so this is the problem with them not coming out and having a deep dive on instancing or any sort of communication about it. The community is speculating on what it's trying to do. I think everybody is assuming that this comes in, and part of the purpose is obviously to ensure that the mission flow works, that you and your little team can run through it in order. And that works. Like when everything's working, the fact that you've not got other groups in your space means that the mission flow does work much better. But I think on the other side, people were expecting, we'll have our dedicated instance and therefore performance will be better, server performance. And yeah, like you say, that just isn't the case. But again, whose fault is that? Is that our fault for assuming that, or is that CIG's fault for not communicating any time in the last however many months? I don't know. But again, ideally, they would tell us what is going on here, what they're trying to do, rather than just letting us speculate. I just think it's such a bad move to just let the community just guess, because we obviously are lacking so much information about what their intent is. When we're just left with a communication void, people just start thinking, oh, maybe they're doing this or maybe they're doing this. And that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help CIG. It doesn't help the community. So, yeah, there's not much to say. It doesn't perform any better server FPS wise than what you normally get from the game. So that, at least when we, to be fair, at least when we're talking on Thursday, as we say, who knows what might happen? They might come out with, well, we've been working on this for the last 2 weeks, and here's a big change to how this all works. At this point, right now,
prove us wrong, CIG. But you're right. It is, as of right now, at least, this is very much an opportunity for people to jump in Star Citizen and get that closed off, non-interrupted gameplay experience that a lot of people have been looking for. And for that reason, I like it. You know, I do. It is fun. For all that we've been saying throughout this show, the new Siege of Orison is fun, in my opinion. And I'm going to be playing through it a lot. We're going to be using it a lot in our org. And I think people are going to enjoy it. But it still doesn't, we don't know exactly what the point is. I mean, outside of the closed off environment. And it has been talked about as kind of using quasi-dynamic server meshing. It is a step towards dynamic server meshing. And so we still aren't sure quite where it fits in there. I think they've acknowledged that this does allow them to spin up and down instances. But even in the, so in the monthly report, there is a line here that says, in the month of July, devs have been developing and testing a system that allows servers to scale up and down based on demand. So I'm wondering if this is not what instances are doing. They are not, they're not scaling up servers, or rather, they could be scaling up a server, right? The server that holds Crusader, they could be scaling up to fit instances in it, but this sounds more like something that's not actually happening with the instancing that we're seeing. Do you think this is maybe something they couldn't get working for instancing?
Yeah, that again, we're very much into guessing.
We're speculating, yeah.
Yeah, this is exactly the sort of thing that they could do with coming out and explaining. I don't know. We don't know whether what we're getting now was always what they planned to do, just a really basic implementation where the instancing works. We don't know if they were aiming for something much better than this. Then they've kind of not quite got there. They've either run out of time or things didn't quite go the way they planned, and therefore this is what we've ended up with. We've just got no way of knowing. And the thing that CIG tend to do is that when things go wrong, which actually happened, this was the thing that happened with was it Socks and Pez?
Oh yeah, persistent entity streaming, the iCache, entity graph.
iCache.
Yeah.
So they had a plan. It didn't work out. They didn't tell us that it didn't work out until they had a fully new version that did work. They didn't want to say, we tried this thing and it failed and we don't know what to do, because that's not helpful really for anybody. They tend to, their communication style basically is to wait. If something fails or something doesn't quite go to plan, they wait until they've got something to replace it that does work, and then they say, oh, we tried this thing, it didn't work, but don't worry, we've got this thing. So who knows what's going on? But I mean, that line in the monthly report at least suggests they're talking about direct server meshing there, scaling of servers. And so that's a good sign that because I mean, not that I'm really expecting this in any way, but at the start of the year when Chris was in Australia, he did an interview on camera. And one of the things there was he kind of talked around the idea of scaling up to 2,000 players, maybe by the end of this year. And so there was at one stage, at least, a plan to push server meshing to the next stage. I would suspect that would be not coming this year now. With all this stuff that they're doing to get instancing working probably has delayed other things as well. So, but again, we're just guessing because they won't talk about it.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't know. That's really what we know about instancing so far. Now that you've seen the way that they're doing it here, are you worried about them spreading it more throughout the game? We all were in the same boat of like, well, they could do it in certain places and not in others. What do you think now that we've seen it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the obvious thing that they could quite easily do, especially if it isn't spinning up new servers, if it's just spinning up instances that run on current servers, you'd think things like the Onyx facilities would be like a perfect candidate because they already run on current servers. That's another example where ideally you don't want somebody just appearing and shooting you.
Yeah.
Like that's designed to be a narrative flowing mission that goes in an order. And so there's obvious places in the game where they could basically port what they've got here on top of them. The concern, I think, was said in the supporter chat here was that, well, what I really don't want to see is that I'm flying my spaceship and then I suddenly come across this massive red barrier saying no entry while you're in a spaceship. And so there's definite limits to how this could work in the current implementation. So yeah, there's a whole conversation that we could have, I don't know if you want to, but around the danger of overusing this and how it could ruin the sandbox and it can kill PvP and all sorts of stuff. They done wrong, this could be a problem for the game, but done right, it could help. It should help, I should say.
Right.
So, yeah, what do you think?
I'm in the same boat. I mean, I think that whatever this implementation is, it's very early and not working how they want it to. I do think that we'll have seamless transitions at some point, but I'm just more interested in understanding how this fits into their idea of spinning up servers. I guess they can only resize servers now. Maybe they can't spin them up. But one of my first thoughts actually when we were going through this was like, well, we're talking about having multiple shards of this game running, right? So multiple copies of Star Citizen running with thousands of people connecting. Every shard has 5-star systems. Each of these 5-star systems probably has 5+ servers covering the whole area. Each planet in these servers probably has its own narrative thing to do. Onyx Facility, Municipal Works, Siege of Orson. So you're talking 5 servers in each of the 5 systems on all of the, let's say, 5 regional shards. That's already 25 servers just for that minimal bit. And then you're going to say, okay, well, we're also going to have instances that are within these different areas, and each of these instances are getting spun up by players and creating new shards or new servers. So now you got 30 more servers opening on each of these other servers that there are 25 of, and that gets insane. So I was thinking originally, I was like, wow, if they're going to try and make a different server for each of these, great for performance, great for the game, sounds completely unsustainable financially.
Yeah.
So I am wondering where they're going to land in terms of how many servers are there for each of these areas and how much can you be spinning up servers for different players to do stuff. And this all goes back to the fact that a lot of people have been believing the whole time that it's just not possible to do what they want to do with server meshing. And while they've proven the technology works, they still haven't necessarily proven the design can.
Yeah, they've proven that they can cobble together what we've got right now, but they haven't proven, like we said, server performance isn't looking great right now.
Yeah.
So they haven't proven that the, I guess, 1.0 version of the game will work still. Like they still haven't actually proven that. And so what we're crying out for here really is some up-to-date, like where we're at with server meshing, the push towards dynamic, and we get these snippets in the in the roadmap, in the monthly report, sorry. But again, speculation isn't necessarily a good thing for this because it just leads to us guessing about, well, maybe they're trying to do this, maybe they're trying to do this, maybe Chris
this whole
wants this,
show
maybe.
is speculation.
Yeah, we should just stop there. The whole game is speculation. Like the whole game has always been speculation. It's like, well, they said this, what does that mean? How will this pan out? Will they pull this off? It's all, the whole thing is speculation. But I just think they hopefully will recognize at some stage that where we're at now isn't actually healthy, I don't think.
There's something else that came up in the monthly report. It said, hold on a second, let me make sure I actually have the time down right for this. It said missions are creating too much back-end load when spawning things in to support them. They've identified this as a real problem, causing instability across the game. Do you think this is a significant thing that they found?
I mean, if they put it in a monthly report, you'd assume it's significant enough. Yeah. I mean, that sounds like the sort of thing that hopefully, since their plan to kind of look at underlying root causes rather than just bug fixing everything and trying to just patch everything up, hopefully, I mean, that's the hope. Coming out of the Benoit talk, that the hope was, they'll actually properly go in and try and find what's really going on, because I think anybody who's played the game can clearly see that there's some serious problems with how some things work. And so, the fact that things like the freight elevators, so my little time down at Ashlands and Chorlers Beach was kind of ruined by the fact that one of them, the freight elevators weren't working. And so it's like the whole purpose of this thing where you're supposed to go and try and get these drugs out whilst people are flying around killing you. Well, I spent a load of money on, I think somebody else actually did, they spent a load of money on these drugs that they just can't get out of the location because the freight elevators don't work. So it's like the fact that there's many parts of the game like that, like the desync that they haven't fixed over many years and still haven't got this post about, or there's missions just not working. There's many underlying root causes and elevators and all sorts of stuff. So you'd hope that what's happening right now and what we're reading about in this monthly report is the start of them really digging in and finding the proper issues. But we probably won't know for months, really, or years maybe.
Yeah, it's going to be a while. But this report did have a lot, more than I've ever seen, of just paragraphs of them describing problems that they found, what was causing them, and what they did to fix them. And I think that felt pretty systemically different from how they report these things. They would always talk about bugs being found in monthly reports, but this was full sections of identifications and remedies. And I'll pose the same question to you. Do you think that's part of this push and it's something that they can maintain? Or is it just kind of like, look, we did this, and then they go back to the same stuff after?
Only time will really tell. Only time will tell. I think you've got to. I don't think Benoit at any stage has given us reason to doubt that what he says on these shows he really means. So when he's sitting there on camera saying, "We've got to change this. We're making serious plans to change the way we develop and do these things," I think we have. Well, not everybody will be the same as me, but I would assume his true intention is to do this. Whether there'll be other factors that stop him from fixing the game effectively, we'll see. Again, all it takes is, Squadron really is coming out at some stage in the nearest future, and then they suddenly get into like a proper crunch on Squadron to get it actually locked down completely, and then you'd assume people will be getting pulled off Star Citizen stuff left, right, and center to try and do that. So we don't know what the next few months will look like in terms of fixing up the game, but I do believe that Benoit has he truly does want to make the changes he was talking about.
Yeah, hopefully he just has the ability to do that. There was one other thing that came up in the monthly report that I think is pretty interesting. There was a new, maybe a new location or something. No, not new locations. There's something, I think a new faction that is being developed right now. And they say it is in anticipation of new missions that incorporate an entirely new gameplay style. So, yeah.
Hacking's back, baby.
Immediately goes to the most frustrating thing. What do you think they're working towards with that? So no context clues.
Yeah, a new faction with a new gameplay style. That's what it says.
Yeah, let me see if I can actually find the specific mention in here.
Yeah. Whilst you look, I'll waffle. It's clearly some sort of hacking gang, and they're going to allow you to hack the ships. And now the Legionnaire will finally be delivered. That's the only explanation, right? I mean, refining?
Oh, actually,
Maybe?
sorry, not a new faction, a new guild.
Oh,
New guild will be introduced alongside an all-new gameplay style.
well,
Now,
it
they
is
said
going
last time they said something like this, I believe refueling came in the next patch.
so yeah. I mean, it kind of has to be either
I don't want to say the R
refining
word. Yeah, that
or
scares me.
or hacking or what else? Because bounty hunting V2 is obviously long overdue, but we do have bounty hunting, so that's not a new gameplay style. What
Oh,
else are we even
dude.
waiting for? Fishing? Is it going to be a fishing guild? Are you going to do the Fisherman's Guild?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's not coming anytime soon. Is there anything, unless it's some sort of, it's not really base building, is it?
The next thing we were told they were working on was refining.
Refining would make sense. We're expecting the Expanse. We might then therefore get the refining module for the Galaxy. And the team that would have been working on it would be assuming this would be Torsten's team who were doing all the refining stuff. And it obviously is part of crafting. So, oh yeah, refining sounds reasonable. More reasonable than hacking, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, everybody remember this moment as the time when we speculated that it was refining and it was not confirmed. We come back in a few months and we're like, why did we think that refining was coming? Here it is. It's right here.
Unless it's data running. That's the only other thing it could
Oh,
be.
yeah, dude, because they totally teased that. That's right.
Yeah.
I honestly, I really hope that they give us real engineering and like worker missions where you're going and getting on ships to fix stuff.
What did you say there? What did you say? Engineering? Is that what's that?
Shooting guns? No, sorry. Combat? I don't know. No, but the missions they dropped into like repair stuff in Pyro were cool. Yeah. It's great. It's not combat. It's not mining. It's not salvage. It's different. And they're kind of localized, but maybe bring them to Stanton. Maybe put them on space stations. Give us the ability to actually pursue that profession rather than just take it because we happen to be in that area.
Yeah. Well, although actually the thing coming obviously with Starkitect is they've talked about these local mission boards, and they would be an obvious sort of job that you could do around, because the idea is that you're going to be stuck around a location for a good chunk of gameplay. Having some little repair missions to do at a particular site that you can pick up on a job board locally would make some sense. Yeah.
Starkitect also showed up in this report, and it's continuing to be probably the biggest thing that consistently shows up in all of these reports. They said that beyond the work they're doing at Siege of Orison, multiple writers are working on missions for upcoming Starkitect locations. This new technology will allow for more places to visit than ever before, and the team is helping to make sure there are new contracts to experience. We've talked about this plenty and seen a lot of it.
But that is, let's hope that's true. That second bit. Well,
what a way to react.
What I mean by that is the second bit's true, that there's contracts to do at those locations, because there's so many locations in the game where you fly in and you've got no reason to do anything in it apart from just go to the shop.
Yeah.
And so let's hope the game, the locations in the game can so often be just a husk, like even the city location, like some repair jobs around Lawville or Area 18 or like.
Yeah, dude.
We're missing so much stuff that would help fill out these locations. The locations are, I don't know if we ever were to do like a prize for the most disappointing part of the game. I don't know what would win, but I would argue locations would be high up. They've never really, especially once we had the vision for like building interiors, they've never got anywhere near what I think people hoped these locations would be.
Oh, come on, man. Come on. You don't think that cargo decks are like exactly what they need to be?
Well, yeah, that's a great example.
Oh, wait, no. No, the Grimhex rework really, I think, was good work. That was... Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The racing. Has anybody ever done a race around Grimhex like we were meant to, around the racing, the gambling bit?
I think that's probably something that a lot of people don't even realize, is that Grimhex was redone as a location to support gameplay that never arrived.
Yeah. There's so
This
many
has
things.
been quite the episode, man. This has been a
This
fun
might
one.
be
Good feelings.
The most negative we've done, and sometimes they can get pretty negative. Yeah, I think we're probably just summing up how a lot of people feel right now. And I think it's probably better to be honest than to be like, everything's fine. It's fine. Just buy spaceships. You're fine.
No. Yeah. Everything is not fine. That doesn't mean everything's falling apart and burning to the ground.
Yeah.
But it certainly means that CIG needs to, I think, take a little bit more care for how they treat this next few months. They're very used to just going into October and having all the hype behind them for good stuff. But I think people want some real results, not just to see what's coming up, but like in the game right now.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, man. You know what time it is. We've got to do our predictions for the day. What did you say last time, though? It's only been a month, so I feel like this is going to...
It was the Ollie prediction that Ollie would save the video content. And I'm going to claim that as a win, that he is trying at least. Round of applause to him. He's at least trying new things. So I'm going to give myself that one. I've failed in every single one. So I'm having a point for that. I get 1 point for that.
You're like, give me that. To clarify, though, it's not a round of applause. What I have written down here is we will give him a British round of applause, which fits because he knows he's used to that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We can go back to some of your other predictions though if you
No. We'll stick with that last one. Well, there's no point going past that because they all were silly.
Oh man, no, I love the May one.
Was that the squadron will win an award? Was that
I like that.
A technical award for the soundtrack or something. I said,
dude, I could see it totally winning one of those like joke awards from people that is just like. Like, there's definitely going to be people giving it most disappointing launch. It's been 13 years. It's impossible for it to live up to people's expectations.
I don't know if anybody has got expectations outside of the community, though. That's the only thing. Like, does anybody else even think it's really going to happen?
No.
Maybe
I think a lot of people in the community don't.
Well, yeah, and it might not happen for a while yet. Still, yeah. Right, I need to come up with a new one. I don't. This is the problem. Like we've almost been talking about the whole way through, because the communication is so lacking. In the past in the game, you could get to the start of a year and you kind of have a good guess based on some wild thing Chris had said on stage. At some point, you'd be like, well, maybe that will happen. Right now, I think we're lost. We're lost. We're all lost, and we've got no idea what's happening.
Gosh. Somebody send help for 10 pound.
Yeah, I mean, somebody give me a map. Give me a roadmap. What CIG? What if you gave us a roadmap where you told us about what was happening like a few patches in advance? You could try that. Yeah,
but then people watch it too closely.
Well, yeah. I think my prediction will be that we get something quite fun at the end of the year to test. That won't be, maybe it'll be tech preview or whatever. My prediction is that we get maybe it will be a really like messy early look at dynamic serve meshing. That's an insane thing to say, but maybe it won't be that, but there'll be
already written down too late.
Yeah, I know. There'll be something maybe, because I think if this does pan out like we think it will, where we will get maybe Planet Tech, we maybe then get a squadron delay, and then we get. I think they'll maybe want to have something at the end of the year to end the year on a high. They have a big history of releasing patches on like the 17th of December. Literally at the last possible moment they can, to give people something to play with the holidays, which it probably will be quite broken, but at least it's fun. So I wonder if they'll just need a little bit of pumping up the excitement at the end of the year. So we might get some sort of weird, I mean, maybe it could be a tiny look at base building. These are just crazy suggestions based on the fact that I think we need a hype piece rather than actual real belief. But yeah.
All right.
That would be my prediction. Something crazy on the tech preview at the end of the year.
All right. I got you written down for it. I do think that Planet Tech V5 and Stark Attack are their big hype pieces. I think that's what they're
Yeah.
going to release that in November and try to have that, because that's a pretty significant rewrite to the way the game works. I mean, as you said, most disappointing thing has been these locations that have nothing going on. This is supposed to grow the number of locations and add missions to them. So I think there's a lot that there's a lot of like a lot of road, a lot of whatever the freaking phrase is. They can get a lot out of that.
Yeah, and in some ways, it's an interesting to see how does this all roll out from here? Because obviously we're just talking about Nick's planets, and we don't even know if it's planets. We might just get Nick's one. We don't know if the other one, Nick's 2, I think. One's a gas giant or something, and one's So we don't know what that looks like, and then we don't know. Again, we're talking about Starkitect coming and making these locations more interesting. What does it look like to roll out Pyro planets and Stanton planets with the Genesis stuff that they're doing? So, it's going to be a fascinating end of year. I'm kind of excited just to see how it all pans out, because it could be quite fun with the Planetech stuff, or it could be quite negative and angry people, pitchforks.
Well, I look forward to our next time meeting to talk about this, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to discuss. We're in the middle of just like a really high pressure time, and I think a lot can happen in between now and September. So, including I'm going to have a son.
Yeah.
By the time this releases, holy crap, it's crazy.
And that's a good reminder that this is just a silly computer game at the end of the day, and there's many things in life that are much more exciting and important. So that'll be fun. That'll be great.
At the end of the day, it's not that big a deal to stress out about this, except for the fact that I do have to support my son. But there are much bigger things going on that we should put more of our energy to. This is supposed to be fun, and when it stops being fun, it's good to take a break. It's good to play other games, and it's good to just like hang out with the same people you play Star Citizen with, maybe doing something a little different, mix it up, flex the brain. But that's that, dude. Thank you so much for talking with me about this. Was there any final thoughts you wanted to put in?
No. If you think we've been too negative here, don't tell us in the comments. Just do a smiley face emoji. Everything's fine. It's all fine.
Just gonna get so many smileys.
I don't know. We're in a weird time, and I think maybe that's come across in this episode more than any other one that we've done before. That we're in a strange middle ground between. Yeah, we're in a weird place. It's
emotion. I mean, like everybody has emotions, and you're free to talk about it. The fact that we're still here talking about it, it's because we still enjoy the game, want it to do well, and want to see where it goes from here. You get to talk about the things that frustrate you as well. I don't feel like it's too negative. Thank you though for coming on. If you could let folks know where they could go and find your content, your benchmark, and your drama.
10Pound42 on YouTube. If you're looking for hardware stuff, getting the game running as well as you possibly can, and occasional dips into drama, not too much drama recently. And then we also do stream on Twitch and YouTube on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 9 a.m. UK for a few hours, which has been a lot of fun. Lots of fun.
I have had requests that you stream at normal times. But I do think that's normal for
that's normal for me, unfortunately. This is the problem with, unless you stream 24 hours a day, you're going to upset somebody, unfortunately. So you
kind of can't get away from that. You've been enjoying the streaming?
It's been really fun. More fun than I thought it would be. I thought I've dipped in and out before in the past and been a bit like, don't know, but I think now, having done it solidly since September, it's nearly a year now, it's super fun. Super fun. I enjoy it a lot.
That's good, man. Yeah, sometime I'm going to have to wake up extra early and try to get you to stream a little longer so we could do a joint session.
That would be fun, yeah.
All right, man. Thank you again so much for this talk, and thank you everybody for joining, especially you guys, supporters live in here chatting with us. We appreciate you. every week. It's good times. Usually this is on Friday mornings. This week it was Thursday, but if you guys are supporters on Patreon or YouTube and you would like to come in here, ask us questions, and give us some more thoughts to ponder, you are free to do so. Also, something that I would like to mention to everybody. You know what? Actually, I'll hold off till next week for that one. Thank you, everybody, for coming to this episode. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see this on audio platforms, we are available on Spotify, Apple, all the things. And you can throw us in the car on your commute or something. I don't know. We like to join you for the most boring times. Y'all are great. I appreciate you. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks once again, 10 Pound, for joining me. Always a good talk. I'll see you guys all next week.